Hi, and welcome back to Maple History. I'm Christina Austin, and my husband Simon is here with me again.
Yet again.
It's still summer. We're working on other guests. Sorry.
It's all right.
It's not that I don't like talking to you. It's just...
What am I, chopped liver?
Yeah. Listen, you're here all the time, so it's easy.
Yes. I go into the office to give us quality time apart.
Yeah, but you're usually down in the basement office.
Yes.
All right, so I thought we were going to be talking about the founding of Quebec City this week.
Okay.
We're not.
Okay.
I fell down an Acadia-shaped rabbit hole, so that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Sweet.
And we're not even getting that far with Acadia.
Well, it's a rich history, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I've left so much out. But as we've been talking about just offline, is about how history is always the edit. History is only the edit.
Yeah.
So to kind of expand on that idea a little bit, the past is over. It's gone. We can never find it again.
Of course.
It's not there. What we have is history. And the history is in the edit of what people have recorded, what people have left behind, so the archaeology, and what people recorded is edited.
Of course, yeah.
And then what historians do is they still have to edit that too. Are they telling you the story of the political beginnings of New France, as in what is going on in France? You're going to have to leave out some other stuff. If you want to focus on the indigenous relationships, you're not really going to be spending a lot of time in the chambers of commerce in France to tell that story. It's always the edit.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So anyways, so I had to edit out Quebec at this point, but I'm going to get there. And I'm editing out, like I said, that chamber of commerce type stuff where they're negotiating monopolies. And why are there plural monopolies? I don't know. Okay, so we left off last time with Champlain heading back to France and writing a book about his travels. So because he was a geographer, he wrote about the plants and the landscape, and he was a good cartographer. So anyways, it's a very useful book for historians as this first-person account. So he wrote that book, and then he and Pierre de Goux, Sieur de Mons, so de Mons, also had in their mind that they're going to get their king to have another go at the colonization. So they wanted the backing of the king again. So that one failed. Let's have another try. So Champlain wanted to go back to the St. Lawrence area, but de Mons preferred the area around the Bay of Fundy. And de Mons was the senior person in this situation, so his preference won out. And what's interesting about why, or what one of the historians theorized, can't remember which one it was. So Dumont was on the Tadoussac trip.
Okay.
And that one was real bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Sable Island.
Yeah.
That one was with La Roche. And Tadoussac was with Chauvin.
Yeah.
So he's been like, I went to the St. Lawrence. That was horrible.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back there.
That was the one where it was like 80 people, they left at the colony, and then they like didn't go back for 2 years, and then there was like a 13 left or something like that.
No, that was Sable Island.
Oh, okay.
Where like they murdered the...
Oh, the quartermaster and the like chief guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Tadoussac was just scurvy.
Oh, okay.
And starvation and just horribleness.
All right.
But Dumont was nobility, so whatever.
Yes.
He gets a bigger share, so he lived. Anyways, so he does not want to go back to the St. Lawrence. He's gun shy on that front. So he wants to go to Acadia, and that's where they're headed. So they got the approval, and then they started recruiting men to join them. It's 100% a boys only trip.
Okay. So not like a settlement. It's like, or was it a settlement?
Yeah, but the plan, they're kind of like the advanced force.
Okay.
They want to bring women eventually. I mean, at least some of them. I was reading, one of the historians was talking about how misogynistic a lot of the men were on this trip.
Sorry, of course. Like,
yeah, but more so than like some men on the trip were missing women.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, it would be great to, and the other men were like, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's always those sorts. So they recruited laborers, possibly from prison again.
Okay.
So that's always a champion level choice for ensuring a harmonious experience.
Yeah.
They also had many skilled people for pretty much anything you could think of, from plasterers, blacksmiths, carpenters, to professional hunters recruited from gamekeepers.
Okay.
Also, that's useful.
That would be
That's
super useful.
Yeah.
Like
to
people who
work
are-
with the indigenous people and the professional hunters.
If you are a professional hunter, you are going to be good at hunting.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had firearms, so like you'd be absolutely fantastic at it.
And if you're a gamekeeper on an estate, and one of the main forms of entertainment for the nobility or any kind of upper wealthy merchant class, it's hunting.
Yeah.
So it's not like the people that hire you are clueless about hunting.
Yeah, true.
Like they are actually quite good,
Yeah.
but their gamekeepers are better.
Oh, of course.
Anyways, these are the dudes they got. They also had 2 priests and a Protestant minister with them. They hated each other.
Okay, well, yeah.
So
Like there was recent
yeah, they
Or
just
ongoing.
finished
Okay.
like 30 odd years of religious wars.
Yeah.
And there's more coming later.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the middle of like huge religious turmoil.
Yeah.
Not surprised at all that they hate each other. Surprised it wasn't a segregated trip, to be honest. Like I'm surprised they didn't just be like, you know what, we're just bringing Catholics or we're just bringing
Yeah, well,
Protestants.
that's coming later.
Okay.
And also Champlain, he had fought in the wars of religion.
On the Catholic side?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
but he saw how horrible it was.
Yeah.
Like, so it was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's basically a civil war, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Anyway, Dumas was the Protestant, and then Champlain, he had big dreams of having kind of making a new France, this wondrous place where people of different religions could live together, and partnerships with the indigenous people. I'm sure he always wanted to convert them.
Yeah.
Not he personally, but that was in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
But that's coming later. So, and among the recruits were adventurous men with money and high rank, and one of these men, Jean de Biencourt, Sieur de Poutrincourt. So he's going to be known as Poutrincourt.
Okay.
He's going to be a player in the next little while for sure. So Pont-Gravé, he was in the last episode. He's going to be second in command below Dumas. He has been on many trips to France, and he is a good leader, navigator, men like him, that kind of thing. So they had all their people sorted. I'm leaving so much out. There's a big long list of other kind of high rankings, quasi noblemen adjacents, kind of adventurers, like
Okay.
rich guys.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of rich guys there. So they had 2 ships ready to go by the spring of 1604. They had the Don de Dieu as their flagship with Dumont and Champlain aboard, and the second ship was La Bonne Renommée with Pont-Gravé commanding it. So off they went on April 7th, 1604 and April 9th, respectively. The Don de Dieu arrived in what Champlain named Cap de la Hève, now called La Hève, which is near Lunenburg, Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay. Nice. We were there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we didn't go to La Hève, but we went to Lunenburg. Yeah, they made really good time. They got there in about a month.
Oh, that's good time.
Which is pretty good.
Not the record so far. Like there was one that was like
3 weeks.
3 weeks, wasn't there earlier? But there was one that was like 16 or something.
They kind of bank on it being 6 to 8.
Okay.
Sounds horrible. Anyhow, so they did not choose to start their settlement at La Hève because it was on the eastern side of Nova Scotia, so facing the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It's because it was not very defensible. Not that they're worried about the indigenous people, they're worried about other Europeans.
Yeah.
So they're prowling around looking for fur and fish and places to colonize.
Yeah.
Mainly the English at this point. It's not really the Spanish, because the Spanish didn't really come up that far anymore.
Yeah.
They would have stayed down more Louisiana and the Caribbean and farther south.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they went on to find other harbors and sailed into what is now Liverpool. And there they found a French vessel already there, captained by Jean de Rossignol. He had a license to trade on the coast of Florida, which actually meant like all of the East Coast, more or less.
Okay.
Because
Like
Florida
the
is
whole...
just Florida, like Florida. It's Florida, like
Okay.
whatever. But Dumont believed him to be in violation of his monopoly, so he arrested him and locked him up in a ship, and he was pissed.
Yeah.
But this is a really good example of the issues that continued in New France with traders sneaking in to trade with the indigenous population, as well as an example of long-established relationships that many of these crew had with the indigenous people.
Yeah.
So these are smaller ships, right? These are kind of small, independent merchants.
Yeah.
Or like a merchant would own the ship, and then they'd hire this captain.
Yeah.
just like the Basque coming all the time. Someone owns that ship. Right?
Yeah, of course.
So this is kind of the tension around those monopolies that are not really monopolies. Even if the king is holding fast to it, it's kind of hard not to. It's impossible to police the coast of Canada. I mean, it's really hard now.
Yeah, it would be impossible. And the risk versus reward, it would be massive. And like you said, there's absolutely no way there for them to police it. They just would, every once in a while, run into somebody.
Yeah, so that was just a fluke. So they kept exploring, and de Monts even sent Champlain off with a small boat to explore the coast and also look for Pont Gravé because he was a little tardy. But once they were back together, they found an excellent harbor, which they called Port Royal. But that was renamed much later Annapolis Royal. It was renamed when the English took it over. But again, that's in another 100-ish years. So they all thought this place was great, but de Monts wanted to keep looking. So they had some indigenous guides with them at this point. They sailed into the Passamaquoddy Bay and sailed up to where 3 rivers met with an island just below those 3 rivers where they joined. And they felt that these 3 rivers looked like a cross.
Okay.
Met. So they called it this island, Saint Croix. And they thought they hit the jackpot. This is great. This is super defensible because it's on the Bay of Fundy side, not the Atlantic side. There were streams with fish, low tide areas, loads of shellfish. It was beautiful and lush. This is summer.
Yes.
There was clay for building. They thought it was good soil for crops. They talked about how it was really nice and sandy. I'm like, okay, I don't think that's sure. Anyways, so they thought they were laughing. So the crew and settlers all came ashore and were immediately attacked.
Okay.
Not by other humans, though.
Oh.
They engaged and had no defense against the black flies.
Oh.
In June.
Oh, they would be so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to Canada.
Yep. They just got eaten alive. Their faces were all swollen.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was just so bad. And I wonder, because they had indigenous people with them, but obviously indigenous people would get attacked by black flies too. I mean, any creature, but they had things that they would put on themselves, I'm sure, like fats and mud and things like that to protect their skin.
Yeah, you have to.
Anyway, so they got just rocked. Anyways, they did get themselves sorted despite the black flies, and the other ships came, the Bon Renommé, and the Levrette. That's the one they took off of Rossignol.
Oh, they took his ship too. They didn't just lock him up. They took his ship.
No, they took a ship. So the men were out in canoes and stuff getting...
Rossignol's men?
Yeah, they just kept arresting them.
Oh, when they came back.
And taking their shit, taking the furs.
Okay, yeah. And then what did they do with them? Did they kill them?
They're just like, no.
Oh, you're a worker here for us now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
And like, what are they going to do? If they're on that ship and they've got the furs and there's a chance, if they're just like a regular crewman, what am I going to do about it? My captain is below deck in some sort of brig. There's a chance I can get a little profit from these furs.
Yep.
Because they don't really think anything of them, right?
No.
So they all didn't stay together for too long, though. Champlain was sent by Dumont to explore, and in September, he sent the Don de Dieu and the Levrette back with Pont Gravé and Poutrincourt to France, leaving 79 men to prepare for winter. And then black flies will seem like a fun summer memory by January. So first of all, we're going to get into Champlain's little side quests.
Side quest?
Yeah, he's on a side quest. So Dumont gave him a patache, which is a little light sailboat.
Okay.
Something like a cross between a schooner and something else. I guess they can pack it. Maybe they build it on site or something like that.
Maybe.
Because they do a flat pack house.
Really?
Yeah, they brought a prefab house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For Dumont.
I did not think that they were making prefab houses on Champlain's voyages. That did never cross my mind. And maybe a flat pack boat.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because how would they bring a boat that's as big as like a little schooner that can hold like 20, 30 men?
Well, they either built it there.
Or they have it attached to the side, which is a terrible idea because that's going to get ripped off for sure.
No, that doesn't make sense.
In the first big swell. They had carpenters.
Yeah, no. I believe they had carpenters, but I don't know if you can make a boat with fresh wood.
No, you can repair a boat. The carpenters would be there to repair.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like,
they didn't build it there. They didn't build it on site
Yeah.
because it was too fast.
Yeah.
Because they sent him in like 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. No, they had to have brought something.
Like they have sails and everything on it. So
Okay.
it's not just a rowboat. Anyways, so he's pretty happy about this little adventure. He's to explore the coastline. He's being a geographer and a cartographer, and he's just loving it. So he's in his element here. Things went pretty well. There were some minor scrapes, they're going on land and whatever. One, literally a scrape, where a rock poked a hole in the ship and they had to repair that. Because if you look on a map, the east coast of Canada and down into New England is really jaggedy. There's all sorts of little bays and whatever.
Yeah.
And they're navigating that, right? There's no chart. So they repaired that, and that's why they had that ship's carpenter there. After the repair, they sailed on to what is now Maine. They would come ashore to forage, and when they did, the Indigenous people would be very curious about them, but they would stay back and just observe. When they went back to their ship, Indigenous people did come alongside in their canoes and to trade, and offered to introduce Champlain to their chief, Bezabe. Meeting beside the ship is much safer. They can escape. Anyways, so Champlain agreed to this meeting, and off they went down to the area close to Bangor, Maine. Champlain only took 2 of his men and 2 Indigenous interpreters to the meeting with Bezabe. He was a Penobscot chief. Sorry, that's wrong.
That's like the Wendat in the Iroquois.
Yeah.
Or Haudenosaunee. He's Penobscot. Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard of that, being from Canada.
It's a East Coast American, Maine.
Okay.
The Mi'kmaq and the Maliseet are more up Canada, East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they had strict borders or anything like that, but they
No.
had their territories. All right, so this is a pretty large gathering of Indigenous people, but Champlain confidently went to meet the chief and his men. Champlain did have his men keep watch from the ship, but told them to keep the weapons out of view.
Okay, yeah.
He's not a fool.
Yeah.
And they exchanged gifts and smoked tobacco together, and they talked, and then there was a big celebration. They often call these tabagies. So I don't know if it's an Indigenous word or a French word.
It sounds French.
It sounds French, but it also sounds Indigenous.
It could be, yeah. I don't know.
Could be a mix. Anyway, so they have these tabagies where it's like a feast and a dancing and singing and tobacco, and things go pretty well.
All right.
Like it's all good. So in general, Champlain does show a great deal of respect for the Indigenous people he meets. Then he'll drop these little nuggets, I'm about to quote, which shows he's very much a man of his time.
Okay.
So he is talking to Bezabe about his hopes for the French in this new land. So he hoped, quote, to settle in their country and show them how to cultivate it so that they might not lead a life as miserable as theirs.
Okay.
I'm like, so that's nice.
They're like, we're fine.
And that's basically what he replied. He's like, yeah, dude, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. But it didn't turn into an international incident or anything like that.
Yeah. There's no kidnapping.
No kidnapping.
Yeah, hey.
Champlain is not a kidnapper.
All right,
He's good. They traded some more, and Champlain went off to do some more charting, etc., because that's his jam, and map making. And the area that they explored included the Norumbega. I think that's a river. So, and they were all back to Saint Croix by October, just before it started snowing.
Okay.
It started snowing in October.
Okay. That's an early winter.
Yeah.
I remember some winters as a kid when it started snowing around then.
Like occasionally. Like
it was pretty rare.
It can be, like, it wouldn't stick around.
No, it's
but
true.
But this seemed to...
I remember like Halloween snow, and you're like, oh, that's early.
Yeah. But I also know that sometimes I see Calgary gets snow in the weirdest times.
True.
Pockets of Canada, the little microclimates. So the winter of 1604 and 1605 was absolute shit for the French. It was freezing cold, so those lovely little freshwater creeks were no longer a source of fresh water. It was melted snow from here on out.
Okay.
The Saint Croix River also froze and was completely impassable with huge, big, jagged ice blocks. So it cut them off from the mainland. And then they started to run low on firewood.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, I was like, well, at least they have a lot of firewood because there's all these forests around and stuff like that. But they were on an island, weren't they?
Yeah. Then the scurvy hit. So by March, only 11 men were relatively healthy, and most of the others were dead. So Pont-Gravé returned in the spring with supplies, and they all moved to Port Royal.
Yeah.
Fuck this shit, we're out.
Get off this island, you idiots.
And it was, it was Champlain and Dumont that chose this place. They both thought, yeah, this is great.
This is great. It's defensible.
And it looked great.
Yeah.
Right? In France, an island doesn't quite freeze like that. Anyways, they're all in Port Royal now. All good. And they have supplies. So, the dozen dudes.
And a dozen out of how many?
79.
Okay. Wow.
So there's 11 healthy.
Yeah.
And then there's others that were
sick with scurvy and stuff like that.
It would take a long time to recover.
Yes, I'm sure. Some things you never recover from.
No.
Like if your teeth have fallen out, they're not coming back, obviously.
No.
And if you've lost fingers to frostbite and all of that, that's not coming back.
So while that settlement in Port Royal got started, so they're building and things like that, and then they took Dumont's prefab house down that they put up in Saint Croix. They put it up in Port Royal. So Dumont wanted to explore to see what other options there were. Dumont wasn't as bold as Champlain, nor as curious to spend as much time with the Indigenous people. So he took Champlain and started doing that little route to go down to Maine and all that stuff to see what else is out there, to explore the options. And they got as far as Cape Cod. Things went sour there. The French went ashore to Nauset settlement, so that's the indigenous people there, and took some crops without permission. Because they're like, oh my God, you guys have like gourds and stuff. Yeah. This is great. I love it. Thank you.
It just took their food.
Yeah. And another time they went ashore to get fresh water. Mm-hmm. And a Nauset man stole one of the metal pots off one of the Frenchmen. And that caused a furor amongst the Frenchmen. It was chaos. Men were yelling. The guy whose pot got stolen, he chased after them. And then the indigenous people attacked. And so the Frenchman with the stolen pot, he got killed. Mm-hmm. And the other ones are just swimming back to the boat. And then the Frenchmen on the ship fired their weapons at them. So that dispersed the indigenous people, the Nauset people. After a while, they went back on land to bury the dead guy. When things settled down, they just decided we're going home. So they go back. They stopped and met some indigenous people along the way, and they bartered a bit. But in general, they're just on their way back to home base of Port Royal. So, and then the French tried again the next year in 1606 to look for settlement opportunities in what is now Maine and Massachusetts, but it went even worse. This time it was Poutrincourt, so he's back. I'm kind of doing a little lump here. Poutrincourt led the exploration, and things were even worse this time. The leadership was not great. So Poutrincourt tried to act as a mediator between some warring chiefs, and it basically ended up with them heading off with plans to make war amongst each other. Another time he put up a cross without permission. You know how well that goes. 5 men there disobeyed his orders to return to the ship at night. I guess they were sick of everyone and wanted to stay on shore. And they were attacked that night. They kind of got snuck up on, and only one made it back to the ship. I'm not sure if he was wounded, but I'm not sure if he survived. The other men on the ship, Champlain, Poutrincourt's son, Robert Gravé, that's Pont Gravé's son, and they went on shore and with the guns, and the indigenous people ran off, so nothing really happened there. And they eventually made it back to Port Royal with their tail between their legs, and that was the end of any serious attempts of the French to try to settle down in the Maine, Massachusetts area. So after this, they stuck to the Acadia and the St. Lawrence area for their colonizing plans. All right, so Port Royal, what was happening there? So in the rest of 1605, they started building their fortifications to other buildings. The local Mi'kmaq people gave them permission to do so. So again, they got the prefab house from France. They're getting that all IKEA'd up. And this is where Champlain and Pont Gravé would live that year, because Dumont went back to France in the fall to gather financial support for the project. Champlain and Pont Gravé started gardening, encouraged the other fellas to garden. So
nice. Yeah. Grow some crops.
Yep. They had been able to cooperate with the indigenous people who lived in the surrounding areas, who helped them with food and fresh meat specifically.
Did they figure out what was causing the scurvy?
No, they don't figure that out until much later.
Oh, okay.
So they had developed relationships with the Malecite, the Penobscot, the Passamaquoddy, the Abenaki, and the Canadian. And the Canadian are likely that branch of the former St. Lawrence Iroquois, who had disappeared. But their main partners were the Mi'kmaq, led by the Grand Chief Membertou. So they had this relationship with Grand Chief Membertou. He was quite an imposing figure. He was called the Grand Chief because he was chief of all these other little groups, because they didn't have like towns like say the Wendat or the Haudenosaunee.
Yeah.
Like they had kind of little pockets, like little family groups and things like that. But he was kind of the leader amongst all of them. So that 1605 winter was shit, and they were still recovering, and they were waiting for a supply ship to come in to kind of save them from starving. So Champlain and Pont-Gravé got everyone together except for a couple of soldiers onto a ship to go looking for the supply ship or to head home.
And why'd they leave the soldiers? Like to defend the fort, kind of?
Yeah, basically. But there was a ship coming, but it was late. And that ship had Poutrincourt aboard, and he brought his lawyer or friend, whatever, secretary, Marc Lescarbot. He was going to act as a record keeper. And he was also an aspiring writer of poetry and plays.
Sweet.
So they didn't catch each other at sea, but they did meet again at Port Royal. So Poutrincourt's ship reached Port Royal before Champlain and Pont-Gravé got back. Champlain had seen another ship with a man he knew when things were getting dire aboard his little ship. They were starving.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy had told Champlain that a supply ship had passed him. So Poutrincourt, they saw each other at this Canso place, this harbor. So Poutrincourt got ashore at Port Royal and had a proper meeting with Chief Membutu. He told Poutrincourt that Champlain had left the settlement in his care, and Lescarbot conveyed that Chief Membutu believed that the 2 soldiers were under his command during this time. Like that those 2 soldiers are his children. He's going to look after them.
Okay.
So he seems cool. I like him.
Interesting. Yeah.
The French described Chief Membutu as a formidable figure, and they talked a lot about how well built he was. He was bearded with long limbs and strong and whatever.
He was bearded?
Yeah. That is unusual.
Yeah, that's very unusual.
I mean, I wonder if 80 years ago, someone in his parentage had a relationship with one of the Basque. Who knows, right?
Yeah, could have.
So he's bearded. It was unusual. And Lescarbot wrote that he was 100 years old and had met Cartier.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Right. So the historian John Mack Faragher notes in his book, A Great and Noble Scheme, that one's about the removal of the Acadians. I'll be using that a lot in the coming episodes. That is highly unlikely that he met Cartier, because that would make Chief Membutu in his 90s. And the more likely explanation is that there was some translation issues, and Membutu was speaking metaphorically to demonstrate that he and his people had a long-standing understanding of how to interact with the French.
Yeah.
He's probably about 50, which is still an old man.
Yeah.
But from the French description, Membutu sounds like a historical hottie. They really liked the look of him.
That's a well-built man.
There's like
he's well put together.
His physique. Woo. Yeah. Biting their lower lip. I don't know. Anyways, so Poutrincourt is there as the new governor of the colony. He had that pretty big screw up that we talked about. I had kind of jumped ahead of his story a little bit to talk about going down to Maine and buggering things up down there. But in general, his plans for the colony were well received. He had the men work for the colony as a whole, but also work for themselves part of the time. In a place so isolated from the rest of French society, this made a lot of sense, rather than trying to keep the rigid hierarchy that was maintained in France. Don't get me wrong, though. People were expected to know their place in this world, too. But they could build their own garden. They could work on their place. They could develop other relationships. And they were not serfs. Mm-hmm. Not that this was quite feudal times. Things had moved along since then. But they still had the French estates. The people belonged there. Mm-hmm. They didn't leave.
So in
the French Revolution.
Yeah, they could make their own place better, and they, like we said, gardens. They could probably even hunt and get their own pelts and kind of build their own wealth in some ways. Yeah,
to a degree. Yeah. They were still beholden to the hierarchy. They had some glimmer of power. For themselves. So they all worked their asses off in the summer to build up the supplies as much as they could for the winter. Lessons had been learned. And Champlain also had in mind a way to make the long winter less terrible for morale. He started an organization called the Order du Bon Temps, or as we Anglos would call it, the Order of Good Cheer.
Yeah.
So this was a party held every 2 weeks in the winter, and someone would have their turn as host. Not like everybody on the colony, but like the leadership. And they were responsible for providing fresh meat. So they'd go hunting or fishing, and they were successful. They always found something.
Nice.
The historian Faragher suggests that these events, or tabajis, were awfully similar to the Mi'kmaq feasts, where friendly hunters from other areas would bring game with them when they came to trade furs in the winter. And they would have a celebration hosted by the chief, or sagamore is a term that he used, which is a term that the American historians use a lot.
Yeah.
Sagamores and sachems. That involved feasting, singing, dancing, including with tobacco smoking at the end, which is what the Order of Good Cheer parties were.
Yeah.
Faragher also found it hard to believe that the Mi'kmaq weren't the ones that helped keep the supply of fresh fish and game available for these feasts, that they were...
Like they did have these professional hunters with them, but still, I'm going to say that the Mi'kmaq and the other indigenous people were definitely going to be better at hunting in their own local lands.
Yep. So Chief Membuchu and his lieutenants were always invited. So the indigenous people were there too.
Yeah.
And they sat with the French leadership.
Okay,
so
nice.
There was a great deal of mutual respect amongst them. So Membuchu saw the advantage to his status of keeping a strong relationship with the French for trade purposes. Like, it really elevated him. And he was smart and powerful. And it was noted that Membuchu was one of the most brutal leaders.
Yeah.
Making war and whatever. So he's pretty powerful fella. So despite this being a pretty successful year where they had really built the colony, grew crops, forged strong relationships with the local indigenous people, things had gone poorly back in France. Dumont had not been able to get the support needed to keep the colony going. And there had been some shady business dealings with some of the investors they were cheating the company. But the death blow with all of this, combined without the support, the king was canceling Dumont's fur trade monopoly.
Oh, okay.
So without that, they would not be able to make a profit.
Okay. Now, do we know why? Is it because the market would get flooded?
It gets complicated with the different merchants vying for access.
Okay.
But in order to get a colony going,
yeah.
So it was about colonization versus the merchants.
Yeah.
So to get a colony going, you need the funding of a monopoly.
Yeah.
Because you cannot fund the supply ships and everything needed to keep this colony going without the monopoly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In order to have a colony, they needed basically government control of the market.
There's also no incentive, or not much incentive
for a colony
for merchants to establish a colony, where they're just like,
no.
Like there's no, like, why would they? They just
you're going to lose money,
get their stuff, peace out.
Because it's like such a long-term investment.
Yeah,
it's just not really viable. So it has to be done on a high level by nation, right?
Yeah.
So Dumont sent the bad news to the colony that they all had to pack up and come home.
Okay.
Some were happy to leave.
Yeah.
Others were pretty disappointed. My guess is the prisoners were happy, but who knows? Who could say?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, the first group left July 30th, 1607. The others, including Poutrincourt, wanted to wait to say goodbye to Chief Membuchu, who was away on war party.
Okay.
Interestingly, that war party, Membuchu basically strong-armed the French into giving him weapons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's good.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but when Chief Membuchu returned on August 10th, the remaining French, they harvested some grain that they had been able to grow in their burgeoning colony, and they packed up to leave. They left the next day, leaving the settlement to Chief Membuchu to be in charge of. They hoped to return someday. As the ship left, Chief Membuchu and the other Mi'kmaq led a loud, tearful lament, as is Mi'kmaq tradition for partings such as these. It wasn't really like personal. It was more...
This is what we do.
Yeah.
This is our custom.
The manners. Good manners.
Yeah.
This iteration of the Acadian colony didn't end in a scurvy-riddled failure like the other attempts. It was fairly successful if you're grading it against the others. We can see the beginning formula for success that Champlain was able to devise. The main aspect that helped was the cooperation and respect for the indigenous people. Naturally, it wasn't Champlain alone that made this relationship work. Chief Membuchu had years of working with other French or Basque fishermen and understood the value of what could be built by his nation and the French. So along with partnerships with indigenous people, stable leadership, planning for winter, and reliable supply ships is what is needed to have success.
All right.
And this is the last time that Champlain would ever be in Acadia. His next act is all about the St. Lawrence and Quebec.
Okay.
He gets married too, but I won't tell you about his wife.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I'll tell you about it later. Actually, I might not be you because you're going away.
Oh, that's true.
You're actually going into the north.
Yeah.
Algonquin. Well, not, you're north-ish.
Yeah.
Algonquin.
Algonquin.
Real northerners would be like, north.
Yeah.
That's the south. So, yeah, that's the first go at Acadia. Things will kick off again in another year or two, but I'm going to pivot and go see what happens in Quebec.
All right.
But I'll go back to Acadia because it's going to become really important because it's quite a successful colony.
Yeah.
Until the French give it up to the English.
Yeah.
And then the English expel everybody. Actually, it's the Great Upheaval Day today. It's the one that's the time that started the ethnic cleansing of the French by the English.
Yeah. Wow.
Pretty terrible. Like 10,000 people ethnically cleansed.
Yeah.
Brutally. Bad news. So I started a Patreon. Got one little article up. I'm going to be doing a book review on Isola, which is the book about Marguerite de Laroque de Roberval. It's one of the Reese's book club picks. It's fiction, but I'll do a little episode on that, and I'll write odd little article, and that's on Patreon, so you can go and find that.
So you're going to do a Patreon, or that's a recording as well as an article? Nice.
No, I'm not doing an article about the book review. I'm going to do
just a
recording.
Okay, nice.
But I'll do other articles about other things. So hopefully we can build up like a little chat community if you want to join and talk about the episode, give hopefully constructive feedback. And I'm assuming if you join a Patreon, you're not going to slag me off. But I mean, if you want to pay money to do that, I guess you can. That's fine. But yeah, I hope to build a little chat community. Patrons can talk about what books they like, other history books. I can create little subheadings for chats that if people want to make suggestions. Yeah.
And just we'd really appreciate it if you join the community and just to support us. And support Christina.
You support the Patreon, that would be amazing. But if that's not where you're at, for whatever reason, any comments, you can email me, maplehistorypod at Blue Sky and Instagram. Hopefully we can start building something.
Yeah.
I'm also going to be starting ads soon. So if you don't like ads, I'm sorry. I have to earn some money on this. I get not liking ads. You can just press that skip button. It's fine. Okay. All right. Thanks. And in a couple weeks, we'll have another episode out.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.